Good morning. Welcome to Hope She Gardens and Homestead. It's a beautiful day, but it looks like we might get some rain. And I thought that I would take you on an end of summer garden tour. Now I know that officially it's not the end of summer, but with gardening, it is pretty much the end of summer because right now you should be working on your fall garden. Most things that we plant require about 60 days of growing time, and for us, our first frost is the middle of November, so we'll have a little bit more than 60 days. In fact, I've been getting stuff out for a couple weeks now. I've been working on my fall garden stuff I've got going in the sunroom to come out into the garden. I haven't brought yet, although I have been bringing things out. A lot of things I seeded right in the garden. So I thought I would take you on a tour just to see where the garden is right now, what it looks like, the new things that are coming through, and to show you too, you know, your garden's not always so pretty, although I think mine is beautiful at all times, even during the winter when there's not hardly anything in it, but I even then think it's beautiful. So I'm not a coffee drinker. I drink green tea, so grab you a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, and walk with me through the garden. Now first off, right outside my door, I have got my dandelions and my radicchio. Now these are radicchio greens. They can actually be called dandelions, but they're a French type, and they do have the name radicchio on them. So, but that is what's just outside my door, and it's thriving right now, looking really, really good. My herb garden is looking good. The basil, looking good. My lavender, I've got a little that's died back, so that's going to be some of the old lavender. My curry's looking good. Parsley has gone to seed. It's about that time. Chive is flowering. Now you can eat those flowers in your salads. It's a great little spark of garlic for your salad, and but it's not real overpowering. My thyme is looking good. Very, very good. Flourishing. Now everything we've looked at so far, except for the basil, will overwinter in this garden and come back strong in springtime. Sometimes, depending on the cold, the parsley does not come back, but it's giving me plenty of seeds to replant, so I'm not worried about that. The oregano, as always, is just thriving. I do have a blank patch right there because earlier last week I cut out a bunch of it to feed to the chickens because it is a natural antibiotic. It is very good for the girls. This is one of my smaller sages, but it's looking really good. Rosemary. This is my old lady rosemary. I've had it for many, many years, but it's looking good. And this is the herb garden right outside my door, and this is the one I utilize the most for cooking. Now this is my second herb garden. It's really a newer herb garden, and I do have things in here that aren't necessarily herbs. Like I have a fava plant planted over here. This was the very first one we planted out, and I put it over here because I'm kind of experimenting. I think I had about 7 of them started, and because a couple of them didn't make, but 7 of them came through, and I've planted them in different areas. Shade and partial sun, shade, full sun. I mean, I've planted them in different areas just to see how they would do. I've told you once before, experimenting in your garden is a great thing to do, and it's fun. It makes your gardening fun, and you also find out where things do best in your garden. But this is the new garden. There's the fava bean that I planted right here, and it's doing really good. So it does like this area. This is a bunch of basil that's going. I do have some volunteers over here. It's kind of funny where you get your volunteers, but this is an okra plant. And I've got just a couple of them over here, but I've got some okra plants growing. I've got different mints growing, my lemon balm. And I've got some things coming through like this. Needs to be cut out. I've also got valerian root growing, which is this right here. Now I planted it all along the edge of this. It didn't all come up. So next year I think I'll be doing it a little different. This is a young borage, looking good. Something that I don't think people know about borage is that if you plant it around your tomatoes, it is said to deter the tomato hornworm. I had mentioned once before that I had only had, in all the years that I've been growing tomatoes, I've only had one tomato hornworm, and borage may be the reason. So plant your borage in a good proximity to your tomatoes. I have it in several areas of my garden. Now this is some fennel that I have allowed to go to seed because I really like fennel. I love that licorice flavor that you get from fennel, and it's that crisp crunch in your salad. It's a good thing. And then the fronds, you can use those in your cooking or in your salads. All kinds of uses for your fennel. And there's another comfrey. I have that growing all over too. Now here I have a peach tree, and this is a blood peach tree, something like that. It was actually from a friend. They were out shopping. They had found these peach trees, called, said, "Do you have one?" My husband said, "No, give me one." So haven't gotten fruit off this. Next year we will. Looking forward to it. And I have 2 olive trees. I have one here and one back here. Now they're struggling, but this is their 3rd year, and so hopefully they've made it. Will I ever get olives off of them? I really don't know. I may or may not. I have seen them in Dallas and different areas in Texas with olives on them. Of course, down at the coast, you can grow anything down there though. But I've seen them with olives on. So I'm hoping that eventually I will get olives. Who knows? Now this is a little garden area right outside my door. The other was the herb garden outside the back door. And this is some black-eyed peas that I have planted here, and they're starting to put out some buds, so I'll be getting some black-eyed peas. Oops, already getting some black-eyed peas. Awesome. But why these are really here is to work on my soil. And this is one of the last remaining tomato plants, and that's because it has blooms all over it and is still putting out. Now these are radishes that I've planted, and this is part of the fall garden, but it will probably, I'll be able to get several plantings of radishes. Succession planting is something that you should do anytime you have the ability to do that. Plant, and then in another week plant again, and that way you'll always have something coming up. This right here has blooms all over it, and this is one of my eggplants, so it's still going strong. And this is my grapefruit tree, which made it through the heat, actually grew through the heat, so I'm thinking maybe it likes it here. We'll have to see how it does through the winter, because I really do want to have a grapefruit tree. Now this is a I believe it's called a Japanese mustard, and it went all through the summer, and I harvested on it several times, and it's thriving right now, and I could probably harvest again. So it's going to do me really good through the fall. And this one is my green scallop, and it's putting out blooms still. It did take a break for a few weeks, but it is putting out. I've got, you can see right there, that one coming up. So it's still putting out for me, and I think it will take me through the fall. If not, I have planted some. And then right beside that is my big patch of parsley. And here is another, I have 3 of the fava beans, and they don't seem to be liking this area as much as the other did. And this one has a bit of sunshine, but a little bit of shade. It's pretty shaded right now. I've got the grass clippings around it to keep the weeds away. This is one of my pepper plants. And there's the poor little lemon tree. It did not go through the summer here as good as the grapefruit. And at one point it lost all of its leaves, but they're coming back, and so we'll see. I hope that it makes it, because I really do like the idea of having a lemon tree, being able to just come out and get me a lemon. Here is another comfrey plant, and it's at the base of my apple tree, which is doing really good. We did have to trim it up rather hard because of some of the problems that we were having with it this year. It was pretty stressed, but it's making it through, and I'm very happy. And these are some squash that I planted. I planted these from seed, and this is for my fall garden. And they're doing good. I got blooms on them. Another pepper plant with blooms all over it. Another pepper plant with blooms all over it. This is an eggplant, and this is I believe it's a Thai eggplant, and they're very small, but they're really good in soups. I mean, you can just cut them in half and put them in your soup. And I've got blooms. Let me get up to that. Got blooms all over it. There's some of my kale. Now this is where I usually have my lettuces and a lot of the greens, and they've pretty much all gone to seed and are gone, except for a few. But for the most part, they will come back probably in springtime. But if not, I have saved seeds, so there is no worries. Now this is my yellow squash, and again, it went all through the summer, gave me food all summer. It still has blooms all over it. And there is another pepper plant, and this one is one of my bell peppers. These are the beans that I planted, the purple long beans, because I liked them so much, and hopefully, I mean, they're growing, so hopefully I'll get a good harvest out of them before we get our first frost. Now this area over here, I've got some of my longevity spinach, another one of the small eggplants, and then back behind it is one of the Japanese eggplants. Thai basil, and this was one of the cabbages, and I have left it to see if it will go to seed. It's coming up pretty good, so I'm pretty sure that it will go to seed. This is another one of my bell peppers. And then that is another one of my husband's peppers. I'm not sure what type that is. You know, I am not a pepper eater. I just harvest them for him. I know that this one over here is his habanero. Some of them are very obvious what they are when the fruit is on the plant. Another longevity spinach. Now here I have onions. I have onions all through my garden. I didn't show you on the other side, the one right outside my door, and I have some planted there also. Most of my onions are bunching onions, like the Egyptian walking onions and, you know, different bunching onions. And onions are really slow growing, especially if you plant them through seed, which is what I did. Now, Egyptian onions, they put the sprout up on top so you can plant that sprout, and you already have an onion going when you plant it. Or let them fall over, which is the best way to do, is let them fall over and replant themselves and get growing before you harvest the mother plant. But the biggest hazard to your onions is going to be weeds. Because they grow so slow, grass can come in, because even when you grow in wood chips, as I do, you have to pull the wood chips away to do your planting, and you're not going to put your wood chips back over it until the plant comes through, and then you can start adding your wood chips back around it. But grass can come in and take over an area, so you have to be really diligent. And sometimes just cutting the grass to the ground is the best way to do it. And you know, it's really hard to tell sometimes the difference between an onion and your grass. Over here I have some more basil and some more longevity spinach growing right over there. You can hear one of the girls in there telling you that she's laying an egg or has just got through laying an egg. Over here we have comfrey. I have some beans growing up over here that are great for stir fry. They're little beans, about like this. More of a pea than a bean. And I don't really know the name of it because it was a gift. So I don't really know the name of it. But over here is where I have planted my peas. Oh, let me take you over there. Some more comfrey, some more longevity spinach, and here are the peas. And they are coming out. And I'm happy. The whole row is coming out. So let's see how it goes. Now, these are some eggplants. Hopefully I'll get some eggplants out of them. More longevity spinach and kale. Another pepper. Another pepper plant. And you know, I just learned something from Plant Abundance. His wife makes some very interesting recipes, but she cooks with not just the pepper plant, but she also cooks with the leaves. She said that a lot of people don't know that you can cook with the leaves, and this is true. I did not know that, but you can cook with the leaves. So very interesting. Is something that I'm going to try, to cook with the leaves of the pepper plants. And I believe she was cooking with jalapeno peppers at that time. This is my loquat, doing very, very good. It's put on a good bit of growth this year, and I'm hoping that next year I get loquats. I had some off my son's tree this year, one right outside his door, and we're very, very good. And actually I saved the seeds, and hopefully I'll remember to go by and show you. My seed is starting to come up, so I'll actually have a tree on my land that's from the loquat tree outside my son's door. A couple more pepper plants. And this is a new squash coming up. This one is a type of zucchini, I believe. This one is another yellow squash. Some mint, doing good. And you know, they say that mint will take over your garden, which is true, but you can see I've kept this in one general area just because I take care of it. I put the wood chips around it. If I see it getting out of the way, I'll clip it, pull it out. So you can keep your mint contained if you actually work at it. Another longevity spinach. This little plant is a society garlic. I have those several places through, and they're very pretty. They bring in the pollinators. I've never actually harvested any and used any, but you can. You could probably use the greens just like you would a chive. I actually have it in here because they bring in the pollinators, and these blooms that we're seeing, I have had all summer long. So they're a very pretty plant that'll go through the heat of the Texas summer and still be beautiful. And here I have what is called corn salad. Now I want to get close so you can see this. A lot of people call this a weed, but this is very good. It's got a really good flavor. I'd like to describe it to you, but I can't. It's kind of sweet. It's a great green to put in your salad. You can put it in soups and stews. It's really nice. I like it. And this is my white zucchini, and you can see that I have several plants coming up in here. Still giving me plants, and I'm sure that it will through the fall. This is a tomato plant that we could pull up. We've pulled up all but a few of them. And this is one, it still has a lot of blooms on it. My husband takes these to work with him and his lunch every day. So we're not going to take this up until we are sure that it just will not go anymore. This is my rosemary. And when they put out some buds, they have such pretty little purple buds. They're very, very pretty. Now right here, I have planted out some of my different cabbages. And I've got the hoop over them because I want them to be protected. And until they get a good size, I will not be uncovering those. This is one of my purple bells. Puts out a lot of bells. You'll see one down there I need to come harvest. It's got a lot of blooms on it, so it's got quite a bit of growing time left. Now these are not really big bells this year. Hopefully next year they'll be bigger. I'll save seeds from the largest, and hopefully they'll be bigger next year. Another longevity spinach. This is a new batch of New Zealand spinach, something that I really, really like. So I'm glad that this is coming in and taking hold. These are my favorite tomatoes, and you can see that they've got blooms all over them, which is why they're still going, because all but all but 4 of my tomato plants have been pulled up, and the ones that do remain are the smaller. But I harvested this yesterday, and I got a huge bowl. I mean, this plant was covered, and if you can see all the blooms on this thing, we are fixing to be covered again with these yellow pear tomatoes, and I love them. There's the girls. The fig tree. Well, this is a new one this year, and it's supposed to be an ever-bearing, although this year it's really just taking hold. So they say that I should put some out in October, November. I don't know that I'll get that this year, but I mean, if I do, awesome. But I don't know that I will. And back over here, I've got blackberries, 2 different areas, and another pepper plant here. And this is one of the jalapenos. We've been doing some chop and drop here. This is the watermelon plant that we had taken up all the watermelons and had thought that it was done, and actually thought we had taken it up, but it's back out. It's got watermelons on it, blooms on it, so I just thought, let's see what it does. This is some more that we need to chop and drop, and yeah, it's kind of gotten taken over by grass, but you know, you get so involved in so many different things that some of your areas will have grass growing, and you know, you don't stress over it, because when it comes to it, you'll just cut it down and put some of your paper and mulch over it, and it's gone. Now, this is a large batch of New Zealand spinach. This stuff, it is a thick leaf, but when you chop it like in your salads or soups, it's very good in soups. And it's just a very hardy spinach. And you can see that it's kind of migrated over here. Got a little patch coming in here, and I'm sure gonna let it go. Some of my Swiss chard, another Swiss chard, a couple of different types of kale, some of my sea kale back there. And this is my red Aztec spinach. Boy, I have to really work on that to say that. I've always wanted to call it the strawberry spinach, but that's not what it is. The strawberry spinach came out, was very pretty, and then died back. So, but this one is doing good. It's fixing to go to seed, and that's what I'm letting it do. And I will have a huge patch of this next year. The black-eyed peas that I planted to work on the soil in this garden are coming out, thriving, and I actually have some new ones that are just starting to come out because I just threw them on here and you know, shook the soil, covered it up, and then I came out another 2 weeks later and did the same thing. So I've got quite a bit of that coming out. Now this plant here is my Swiss chard that I have had for this is probably the 5th year that I've had this. Parts of it went to seed this year. Got great seed off of it, and I've planted it in another area. This is my kale. And this was, or is going to be, my carrots. You can see I'm getting some carrots starting to come through. These 2 beds right here, I had allowed to go to seed, so when I went to clear them out, you can imagine there was a lot of grass growing in with it, and when I pulled it out, I just threw it aside and I never did pick it up. And do you see what it's done here? You can see that I've got grass growing on this path here. And yeah, we need to weed eat. But what I'm wanting to show you is where I just threw that grass. It's died back. It's mulch here. You can see the ground here. So this is what and this is not a big thick thing of grass that I've put here. But so can you imagine what it would be if you put down a thick one like I do against my fence line? Now here I have planted a bean, a climbing bean, and I may see some coming up. I'm not quite sure. Have to wait another day or two to see. But hopefully it makes it so that I can get some of the beans from it. And you can also see here that we are putting down cardboard in a big area. This is a pear tree. This is the Kiefer pear. We're putting down cardboard, and then we'll be putting compost and mulch on top. There's my pomegranate. These are 2 cherry trees. Haven't got any cherries off of them. I thought that I saw blooms this year and I was very excited, but they didn't make any cherries, so oh well. This is a cantaloupe. There again, we had taken the cantaloupes up and thought that it was done, but before we could get it up, it started putting out more blooms, and voila, cantaloupes. There's several on there, so we may get another batch of cantaloupes. This is the squash that my little Asher planted. There's the one little Serenity planted. And this is a new plum tree. And right over here is another plum tree. And back behind that, that taller one, is a peach tree. Now this is a nectarine. And these are my grapevines, which I did get grapes this year. I was very excited. The grandbabies ate them. They were good. Wasn't enough to make anything with, but next year should be better. This is another nectarine tree. And this is my apricot. And then over here is where I've got lemongrass growing. And this is only one of my lemongrass patches. Another fig tree. And a baby fig. Some more squash, longevity spinach, echinacea, and I clipped off a lot of this yesterday to get seeds. These are my turmeric. It did a lot better last year than it did this year, and that may be the heat, and also because back behind me we had a tree that we had to take down, which gave a lot of shade to this area. Now we have replanted pawpaw trees, which when they grow will give shade to this area, but right now it's not doing it. But right here I planted Swiss chard. Here's a couple more fig trees. This is my new kale patch. Got kale coming up everywhere, and at the end another fig. Here's where I planted the beans, and you can see up along the fence line, and I've got a good barrier built up. Now you can see back over this way where I've done it in the past. I don't really have that grass problem that I'm having over here. Over here is my asparagus, and in front is another fig tree. Can you guess what my favorite fruit is? And then right there is a bay leaf. Now this is my elderberry tree, and we do have quite a bit of fruit on these little berries. These right here are starting to turn purple, but the tree itself didn't fare too well through the heat, so hopefully I'll have enough to make my own elderberry juice. If not this year, next year. I mean, I will make some this year, but whether it'll take me through winter or not, I don't know. If you're not familiar with the elderberry juice or sambuca, that's something that you need to check on, because that's something you should be taking all winter long. And elderberry juice mixed with a little honey is not a bad thing. So by itself it's kind of bitter, but mix it with honey and it can take that spoonful down very easy. Well, these are my banana trees, and these were transplants from my brother-in-law Cecil's banana tree, several banana trees that he has, and they came from Galveston, where we moved from. And so I know that they put out bananas. We had a huge banana patch out behind our house there in Galveston, and we got bananas every year, and that was really cool. And then below that I have water spinach, and I will be moving that into a different, I'm going to actually put that in a container so that I can keep more water in it, because it's more of a vine than I thought that it was, and it doesn't matter how much of that I eat. The more I eat, the more it puts out. So water spinach is a good thing to grow. Just know when you plant it that now I put it with my bananas, and you can see that I have some dwarf banana trees there. And it kind of overtakes those. I have to really be diligent moving it off of those. But so just know that when you plant it, it's going to grow, vine, and really bush out. This was only, what, three plants, I believe, maybe 4. But that's, oh yeah, I can see now. It's 4 plants. And you see what it's done. So it's a great grower. It's great in your salad, and but it's going to vine and it's going to take over. I didn't know that it vined this bad, and so I put it there because it requires a lot of water, just like the banana trees. So I thought, well, we'll put them together, and it worked for the summer, but we're not going to leave it that way. Now this plant is the Rose of Sharon, and I don't know if people know, but these flowers are edible. I watched Stacy. Yes, I am a Homestead homie, and she stuffed them like you would a jalapeno popper. She stuffed them, battered them, and fried them. So I just eat them in my salads or just pick it off and eat it. And they're very good. They're not super sweet. This is another flower bed area that has medicinal herbs growing in it. Carl. That's Carl. Little Carl. This is the little loquat plant that I got from the seed from the loquats that I ate off of the tree outside my son's front door. And I have one other one. This one right here. A late bloomer, but it's coming up also. So that's pretty cool. I will be taking them into the sunroom for the winter. And although loquats, I don't know if you know, but loquats are an evergreen. They stay green all through the winter. The loquat that I showed you earlier stayed green all through winter. They're some very, very pretty trees. So I hope you enjoyed the walk around with me looking at the garden. And as you can see, because I have so many perennials, we have a lot that is still going on and will continue through the fall, and a lot of it even through the winter. And there are areas where we will put up our little hoop houses and to help things get through the winter. And there are some trees that will actually wrap, and that is something that I will show you. I learned that from Seamus O'Leary and Jake Mace, and it's a way to keep your plants going through the winter that normally get a little stressed, because if they get stressed, that cuts back their growing time, and they have to spend so much time recouping come springtime. And then, now these are for your smaller plants. These aren't for, you know, big growing plants, trees. It's not for the ones that are big and growing. This is for the new ones that you put down that you're really wanting to protect. And I do have several of those. I have a apium, cotton candy apium, that was stressed when I got it, which is why I was able to get it, because he gave it to me for like $10. It's where we buy most all of our trees, and it had been damaged, and I knew that I could nurse it back to health, and so I took it for that $10. And it is doing good. We have nursed it back to health. Stan and I have been very diligent working with it, but that's one that I will be wrapping. But when we do that, I will show you so that you can take care of some of your trees also, and they'll make it through the winter healthier than they would otherwise, stronger than they would otherwise. There are several areas that we didn't get to today. It would just make too long a video if I showed you all the areas that we have growing. I just wanted to show you that it's the end of summer, we're going into fall, and still have an abundant garden going on. And you can have that too. If you don't already, you can have that too. Anybody can. As my sister-in-law likes to say, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And that is the truth. If I can do it, anybody can. I love it. I love being in my garden, and it feeds me very, very well. So I hope that you too have a good thriving garden. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for joining me today. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Give me a thumbs up, and I will see you again soon, I hope. Bye-bye.